Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
All right, with that, I want to introduce our main event, Paul. Welcome. Main event, right? Hey, Paul Alcoholic. Guy doesn't look like a main event to me. Looks like a goddamn sideshow. Anyways. Right, when I heard the main event, I was like, oh shit, that's a lot of pressure. No? All right, Rodeo, take it easy. Hello, hi. Thank you, John. Always takes a minute. Take it in. I'll take you in, you take me in. Hello. Hello, Rodeo. Happy New Year, everyone. Yeah. Hate saying that, hate responding to it, hate all the mass texts, just hate the holiday, hate the champagne sprayed on you. Happy New Year. What are you doing for the new year, all that stuff? I mean, is there more pressure for an alcoholic than what are you doing on New Year's? And when you're sober, it's kind of like you got to acknowledge you're now kind of lame, so you're like, nothing, it's amateur night. Ha, 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 ha. Ha, 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 ha. They're like, no, because you're really the amateur because you had to quit. And you're like, oh, yeah. Hate my life, but I'm sober, it's great. Just this night, it's not really the night for us. All that goes through my head. As soon as someone says, hey, happy, I've already thought the whole thing. What are you doing? What did you do? What are you doing? Some parties, got some parties. It's all the same bullshit. Nobody does anything interesting on New Year's. My last drinking New Year's, though, that was a fucking night. You know what I mean? We all had that. Like, our last New Year's drinking was awesome, wasn't it? I mean, that was a night to be like, yeah. You didn't miss that one. Anybody who's sober in this room, the last New Year, you made it happen. And I made New Year's happen, man. I was 16. I'm from Boston, if you haven't been able to tell. Thanks for asking me to speak, John. Better throw that in there right now. And I was sitting in my chair. I got sober when I was like a little bit after. I was like sober in April of 1986. So whatever that is, 20-something years. And during the Reagan administration. And so my last New Year's, when I was 15 technically, I remember, I was just thinking of this story. I was sitting in a driveway, because I'm from Boston, a small town. There's a lot of house parties is what you do. You go to somebody's house, and I'm kind of a wealthy town, so parents had a lot of money, and usually their kids were there, like in Vermont or New Hampshire skiing. So lots of people had like empty houses that you could party in on New Year's. Rob, you're from right there, from Natick and Sherburne, and we don't look like we're from near each other, but we are, which is amazing. And Rob's from Natick, which is where I used to sell Christmas trees. It's my last job before I got put in treatment, was selling Christmas trees. And I used to sell them in the parking lot to people instead of making them go inside, so I'd get a bunch of cash. Anybody ever do that? No? It's the best job. Like, I was the guy that would, you want this tree, I'd be the guy that would, like, knock the snow off of it. You're out from out here, so you don't have that. And someone would go, I want that Christmas tree. I'd go, great. I'd take it out to their car, and they'd be like, how much is it? And I go, well, how much you got? And the guy's like, I got like $40. Cool. Do I need a receipt? Nope. Just off you go, mister. And so I pocketed a bunch of money that way. It's my Christmas job. My buddy PJ, who I worked with, his dad owned the place. And his dad was this big Marine, like the kind of guy that would, like, if you were raking wrong, he'd smash the rake in front of you and be like, you're fucking paying for that. Hughes, that's $10 coming out of your paycheck. And that's like I made like $4 an hour. So that's like a half a day's of work. You know what I mean? And I was a lazy asshole. So it was a lot of work to make $10 for that broken rake that he deemed me unrakeable worthy. So my buddy PJ was like drinking this like peppermint schnapps. Anyone? Like, what the fuck? When you're 16, when I was drinking, I had no like, oh, what's your drink? I didn't know what anything was. We just stole shit and drank it. Seagram 7, terrific. Drink, vomit. That's what it was. Schnapps, vomit, beer, whatever. So, promise there'll be recovery tonight, but I just feel like talking about drinking. And I'm going to talk for 45 minutes on drugs and alcohol. And then you're going to go, that was not a main event. And I'm going to go home and I'm going to feel wonderful. And so, I have a little low level, fuck Rodeo. And so, fuck you, Rodeo. You pompous asses. I don't care. I have my own Xbox. And so, joke's on fucking you. And so, it's 2 days before Christmas. I'm drinking peppermint schnapps, my buddy PJ. We're smoking pot. I'm robbing his dad blind, giving him cash. We're high-fiving. Neither one gave a shit. Stole like $200 from his dad. I went and called my buddy, and it was one of those things where like he just sold me all this. Like I bought $200 worth of marijuana in Christmas of 1985. $200. I didn't buy any other drugs, just reefer. And it was just that, and then it was my Christmas break, and it was just the next 2 weeks were just fantastic. And I just smoked pot, and like my dad was drunk. My brother was home from college, and he was drunk, and my mom was just Al-Anon'd out of her brain in the kitchen, like, what's wrong with you? What's going on? What's wrong with everybody? You know? So everybody's fucked up. Nobody talks about anything. My one sister is like, goes to college, and she was like 140 pounds when she left for college. She comes back with like straight A's and like 94 pounds, and my parents are like, good for her. And I'm like, what? You know? She's like, I'm fucking cocaine. But they didn't know what cocaine is. She's bouncing all over the place. My other sister is just a bitch. That's her disease. She's just mean and talks down to you. She's rude. She's now become a brilliant alcoholic, and she's moved to Texas, and she has lots of money, and she's just an awesome bitch. The only thing better than a drunken bitch is a drunken bitch with a lot of money that her husband makes. He hates his life. He's on fucking pills and drinking, and it was awesome. I was just there. I'll get to that in a minute. And, you know? Because no matter how hard you're drinking, if you've got a lot of money, there's always a low level of, I can keep this fucking going till the end. I am just going to keep going until there's nothing left. And with the modern state of like antidepressants and Vicodin and Xanax and just good old fucking whiskey and homemade ale, it's no problems. So just went from 85 to 2010 pretty quick. And so that's the holidays. And so I was just high because I'm thinking about it leading up to New Year's. And I live in a house where nothing's ever confronted, nothing's ever talked about. There's pink elephants everywhere. They're high, they're low. There's like flying leprechauns. There's nothing, just a nightmare. Boston, Irish Catholic house in Boston. I had a dog named OJ, and it's right, fucking named after the great running back. And fuck yeah, dude. What? It's 85. And what? Am I missing something? Culture clubs blaring, and it's just awesome. Come a Chameleon and a Thriller video, and it's just on. And I would blow pot in my dog's face and then put Tabasco on his nose, and he's this big German Shepherd, and he'd just be like, get all mad, and I'd be like, ha ha. And then he'd be like, well, when you sneak out, I'm gonna bark, fucker, so I'll have the last bark, ha ha. And that was the whole thing. Then he'd fucking bark when I'd sneak out like the day after Christmas, and my mom locked the sliding glass door in the basement, and it was like a fucking blizzard. And so I was like high and drunk, and I had to figure out a way to break back into my own house. And knowing that if I succeeded, my mom would not confront me on it, but if I didn't, I would get in trouble. So it's a good like game. And anybody else grow up in those kind of houses? Like where I just like came home, it's like 2 a.m. and you're on tequila, and you're like, oh, fuck, the sliding glass door is locked. Fuck, and the dog's just sitting there like, ha, ha. And where's your Tabasco now, bitch? Suffer in the snow. And I'm like, fuck. And I drank so much tequila that I couldn't even, I was like Spanish. And I'm like, adios. And then I'm walking around the front yard. and there's snow, and there's like, I'm chewing this gum because I'd been taking acid too, and I knew if I spit the gum out, my dog would disappear, so I couldn't spit the gum out, and it took 12 hours of the acid, and I'm like, I've got to break in this fucking house, and it's snowing, and I don't know what to do, and I'm looking around, and I finally just go in, I just figured the good old-fashioned, let's try the front door. The fucking thing was open. And it was like, and there was a moment of me going, it's a miracle. And I open the front door, and I turn, and I spit the gum out. And I hear that voice go, no. Come in the house, and I'm like, oh my God, I just made my fucking dog disappear. Now I just got to find the dog, because now all of a sudden it's like if I can just find the dog, and then there's that urgency. But you got to understand, I grew up in suburban America where you could hear a pin drop morning, noon, and night. There was no emotions, there was no nothing. It's just we all hate our lives. And so, anyways, it's 2:30, and I'm like, it's silent in my house, and I'm like, how do I find a dog that I can't call to? And I'm like, I've got it. Where the fuck is he? So I went down to the basement where he was just taunting me, and he wasn't there. And I went up to this fucking like upstairs in the kitchen. And then I finally went up to the top of the stairs, and I just stood there, and I finally said, I'm just going to say, OJ, OJ, where are you, OJ, OJ? The fuck is OJ? And my dad finally, you hear like, and he comes out of his fucking bedroom, and he's hammered, and he comes out, he says, what the fuck are you yelling about? I'm like, the dog. He's like, what? What about the dog? I'm like, he's gone. Dog's gone, Dad. And my head's already like pinned on him, and I'm like, where's the dog, Dad? With the fucking dog. You know, like, because when you're drunk, your reason just goes really, where's the dog, Dad? And he shakes his head like, you're not pinning that on me. And I'm like, the dog's gone. He disappeared. He said, you're crazy. I go, I am not crazy. And he's like, the dog's asleep at your feet. It was good, Dad. I don't know how you did that one, but he's like, go to bed. Bam. A couple days later, it's New Year's. Remember my buddies calling me, going, we're going out on New Year's. We're going to like the Joneses are having a house party. I'm like, yep, let's dance. My eyes were literally that permanently just stoned for those 2 weeks. And still had reefer. It's like December 31st at like 5 o'clock. Drinking like somebody's stolen Cabernet. Some kid's like, you don't want to mix beer and liquor because you'll never be sicker. And I'm like, you just want to mix that, you're an idiot. And I was just drinking it. And then my buddy goes, what do you want tonight? And he's like, you want to drink Heineken's? And I'm like, yeah, Heineken's. Sounds good. Because I didn't want you to know that I didn't know anything about alcohol. I'm like, yeah, Heineken's, that's my drink. So someone's like, you shouldn't mix Heineken and wine. I'm like, shut up. And so my buddy buys like a case of Heineken's. We start drinking them. And shit gets weird. About 10:30, I just like, you know that feeling when like you're drinking and like when you don't pace yourself and you don't, and you're like, I think I'm gonna throw up, and then you're throwing up everywhere. And you're like, then you're in the backyard, and I wound up on the front driveway. And I remember this, I'm sitting there like just trying to lean over, just hoping that it would stop. And in the distance, I see this kid walking with his girlfriend, and this dude named like Brian Travis, who was like, and his girlfriend Ray, who was from Texas, who just moved there, and she was like hot. And it was literally like our school's Brad and Angelina, like just superior to everyone. And they're coming up the driveway, and he's like, Paul Hughes. And I'm like, hey, he's like, you ready for a good New Year? And I'm like, wah! And he's like, oh, fuck. Fucking A, you are. And his girlfriend's like, y'all, he needs milk. And I'm just like, the accent's kind of throwing you off, because in Boston, nothing's different. Everybody's the same. It's just, there's just no nothing. And she goes, and he goes, hold on, dude. And I just remember almost throwing on him, and he ducked, and he like carried me out, and he like took me in the basement, and he like took care of me. And I was like, this is awesome. And I think the first time I fell in love with someone was him, and it was a fucking good-looking dude, and really, like, he puts me in the basement. My head's like between the washer and dryer. And I remember, and then I remember waking up, it's like 12:30 the next day. And I'm like, uh-oh, this is not good. I kind of come to, and there's like laundry and somebody's basement, the Smith's basement, yeah. I didn't use their bathroom. I just figured the laundry room was good. Remember that now. I made an amends for that. If I get time, I'll tell you that gloriful story. And I leave, I go home, and my mom and dad are like, where you been? I was so hungover. It was like a Friday night, and I missed school on Monday. But they sent me to school. It's the other thing. Like, I got sent home in first period because I was too sick and, like, hungover and drunk. But my parents are like, oh, you're fucking going to school. You know? And they didn't talk about it. They just sent me to school, and that's the world I came from. And that was my New Year's that year. And then a couple months went by, and shit was already bad, but it just got really bad. And, you know, how are we doing on time? 9 o'clock, okay. I just remember that feeling of, like, before that whole holiday season, like, I was a fairly normal guy, you know? Like, remember those days, like, when you were kind of normal and you drank, and, like, I played sports, I played football. Take your time, we'll take it. It's a good ring. And was class president, had a lot of friends, played basketball, baseball, was a bright kid. I just couldn't stop fighting. That was a problem. Fought everyone. Mom, not mom, but dad, friends. His mom would have been like, all this rage, I will win. And so, I love her. And she's got 20-something years in Al-Anon now, so she turned out great. And she did. We'll get to all that. And I just remember walking around the last couple months of my using, and I did not matter, you know? I didn't matter. Nobody cared. Nobody confronted me anymore. I was a violent guy. I was a rude, I was just a mean guy. You know, there's nothing to like. Friends of mine that aren't violent, that don't fight, would say, hey, dude, I'm worried about you, and I'd F you and get out of my face, and, you know. It's like a year before I was like meeting with high school scholarships for football, and that was all gone, and couldn't even make my team. We lost every game. It's sad how quickly you lose everything. And so it was April, beautiful April day. Parents came to school, said, I got a surprise for you. Took me out of school. I was high on opium. It's fantastic. If you've never tried it and you're thinking of going out, I urge you to put that in the repertoire. So, ultimately, we'd like you to stay, but if you're out, you're just checking this out tonight, maybe you've got a script or something, you head back out. Opium's a good one. Opium's a fucking good one. My parents are like, we got a surprise. So I love surprises. We go to this brick building. I walk in, and if you're in this room, and you walk into a lobby and there's no photos or anything, just an old lady in a chair, fucking run. Walk in, oh, hello. They take me in this little room. I sit down. This guy comes in with a woman, and they say, we're just going to talk to you. We got to ask you some questions about your drug and alcohol use. I said, sure. Opium, rules. What do you want to know? And he says, do you smoke pot? Yep, a little bit. How often? A couple times, 2 or 3 times a month. Is it 2 or 3? That guy. And you're like, fuck, here we go. You know, because, like, opium's not good for deductive reasoning. I'm like, well, hold on, let me get out a flow chart, prick. And had, like, a fluttering weird eye, which is like, what's going on here? And it's a 2-ish, 2. What's this? And he pulled out, like, some shampoo bottle that I converted into a bong. And he goes, what the hell's that? What do you use that for? And I'm like, that's a great, wow, that's fantastic. What do you use that for? He's like, you tell me. It was in your drawer in your room. I'm like, there it is. Okay, I lost that. And you have these pills and this Percocet and all these drugs I had in my room and all these, like, speed and all this shit. And you have all these diet pills. What do you take diet pills for? I'm like, for sports. He's like, all right, you don't have any money in your bank account. You've lost. Or can you account for the several $1,000s you claim? He just went through the whole fucking thing with me. And I was done. blah, blah, blah. I open the door, there's like 6 dudes there, like, I wouldn't. And I'm like, cool, just checking in. And so, and I was done, you know, and I was locked in this fucking place. And that was my introduction to Alcoholics Anonymous and recovery. It was a long-term treatment center. It was just like this. It was full of kids. It was the exact same plastic chairs. I swear to God, the exact same chair. Girls on one side, guys on the other. Boom. You were held onto by ropes or chains or your belt loop. Occasionally there'd be fights. And on Friday nights, we'd have an open meeting where all the kids would be on one side and the parents would be on the other. And if you're new, the parents get the microphone and they get to talk to you from like 50 feet away. And they'd be like, hello, little Johnny. We're so happy you're here. And little Johnny would be like, fuck you, Dad. And I'd be like, don't fucking fuck you. Fucking fuck you. Fucking. You know, and the dad will be like, you little shit. And they'll be like, all right, that's enough, Dad. Just say love you, Dad. Like, fuck that kid. Like, it's all that kind of stuff. It was so awesome. And like, and I just sat there like, are you really? This is my life? And this is recovery. And still didn't matter. You know, all that shit. Nobody cared. You play by the rules or you're going. And so that was my introduction into recovery. And it was aggressive and it was violent and it was scary. But it was what I needed early on. And it wasn't jail, but, you know, that kind of love going on. And so I learned how to be honest in there. You know, I learned how to say I hate everyone in this room and get free. It's like when I stand up here in front of Rodeo and I say, screw you, Rodeo, I kind of mean it. And it's my truth. I'm not concerned with anyone's opinion, except maybe Jerry's. And I learned that if I'm truthful, I have nothing to fear. That's it. I was 30 days into my treatment center, and I said, I don't want to be here. I hate it. I think I'm better than everyone. And I'm really bummed that this happened. And they're like, finally, and people started applauding. You know, I've got like 60, 90 days. Went back to school. My life slowly got better. You know, I was in this treatment center for a year. And I'll jump ahead to say when I got released from treatment, they said, just go to meetings and find a sponsor. And I'm like, but where, who? They're like, just trust us. And they'd take me to a couple meetings. Like we'd been in the van and done that whole deal. And when you progressed on, yeah, you know, the van, the whole thing, you go to the meeting. Or people come in to share it to you. That's great when like you're in treatment and some jerk off comes in and gives you a message. You're like, I want to bash this guy's face in. Hey, it works, you'll see. All right, where's my car? And so just I didn't get it. I didn't get AA when I was in treatment. I just couldn't. And then you know, I didn't like authority figures. I got in a fight with there's this lady named, my 4th grade teacher was named Joyce Fix. And I got in a big fight with her like in 4th grade and I got thrown out of school. Because she hit me, like punched me, and I was like, that lady, and they threw me in the office, and then they threw me out of school, and I had this huge resentment, and I don't know why I just thought of that, but I was really mad at her, and so I get out of treatment. They say, go to AA, find a sponsor. Go to this meeting. It's a Wednesday night. It's a church. It's in Sherborne, Massachusetts, for all of you that know that town, and Protestant church, or Episcopalian, I think. There's like 9 of them. And this dude was taking a cake for 23 years. His name was Warren. And he was this kind of older dude. Looked like you could run him over with a Mack truck and it wouldn't hurt him. He was taking a cake. There was a huge line. I was like where that dude is sitting. And I looked at him and I said, I'm going to ask that guy to be my sponsor. And I went right up and I asked him. I didn't see a line. I wasn't concerned with lines. It wasn't even that I thought I was cutting people. I had nobody else in my frame of vision at that part of my life except for me. And I knew I needed a sponsor. And I went up to him and I tapped him on the shoulder and I said, hey, mister. He said, what? I said, will you be my sponsor? And he looked at me and he said, you're right. Yes, kid, I will be. I said, all right. And I said, okay. He goes, we start next week. And I turn and he goes, hey. I go, what? I go, what's your name? I said, my name's Paul. And he says, I'm Warren. And he just smiled. I said, hi, Warren. And like I left, and there was that little bit of like, It's going to be okay. From just a dude saying yes to sponsoring me. And I came back the next week, and he did something that was like so beautiful, that he taught me this thing that I had never ever learned, that I never understood in Alcoholics Anonymous. I come back, and I kind of come in like a few weeks, come every week, and we get meetings. He go, okay, were you a kid? Me and you are going to clean up after the meeting. We're going to be the cleanup guys. I'm like, all right, cool. And he'd be like, me and you were the same. You're 20-something years. You've got a year. We clean up together. We're all equals here. I'm like, okay. And he says, no, I'm not going to be here next week, and I apologize for that. But my friend Paul is going to sit in and help clean with you. And I tell that because, like, if he said he would do anything with me, if he couldn't make it or he was late, he would apologize, he would call me, he would make it right. And he talked to me, this is the funny thing, and he told me it. He's like, when you're in here, kid, you talk to everybody like they matter. And when he said, I apologize for that, for not cleaning up, and I'm like, huh? Like, what are you talking about? And like, it's like, Paul's going to do it. And Paul's like, don't worry, Paul, I'm going to help you. I'll do the mops. You just got to stack the chairs, and we'll get together before. And I'm like, I think I'm equal here. And you're like, whoa. It's like, that feeling like when you're in meetings and someone's like, hey, sorry about last night. I'm sorry I didn't call you back. I'll call you tomorrow. And you're like, wow, I kind of matter. So, yeah, the chest is going. And I brought him all these great questions early on, like, I said, everyone's talking about drinking more than I did, spilling more than I drank. They're like, oh, you're 16, you're 17, wow. If I got sober at 17, wow, it's awful young. And I was like, Warren, so people are kind of talking like I don't belong. And he's like, who? Specifically. Sponsors, right? Guy, 23 years. He was a former cop. I didn't know what he did currently, but I knew he used to be a Boston cop. He was a tough guy. And I said, well, specifically, I don't know if there's anybody specific, but there's people like at meetings, they kind of share that. And I pick up on that because I'm, quick. He's like, listen to me. Do you have my phone number? And I'm like, call you every day. And he'd give me one of those like, all right, smart guy. I'm like, okay, yes, I have your phone number. Carry that in my wallet, your wallet, okay? And if anybody ever at a meeting says to you that you don't belong, you walk up with my phone number, you hand it to them, and you say, my sponsor, Warren, and his 23 years would like to discuss with you why you don't think I belong. And you can call collect. And I remember he gave me that, and I was like, yeah, so I'd go to meetings and share like, Paul, alcoholic, didn't really drink, I'm young, probably don't need to be here, I spilled anyone, because I'm gonna fucking get you, and gonna fucking trap you sons of bitches. I would come to this meeting and be like, it is on, I am trapping these pricks. And about that time, I went out to California to the Rodeo meeting, and I saw Kenny Lombino take like a 2-year cake. I think it's something like that. And I sat in the back of the meeting, and it was over on the Rodeo meeting on the church, and I remember being like sitting there with my dad, and he was drinking still, but he took me because I needed it and he didn't. And I just remember them making that announcement at the break at that Rodeo meeting, we're a little low on funds, so dig a little deep, and it's a meeting like this size, and there's like 5 different kinds of like coffee and all this food, and you're like, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? Like, a little different out here. So then I went back to Boston and told Warren, and that was my early introduction to Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'm going to speed ahead, but basically, like, he told me, like, when you come to these meetings, it's anonymous, You treat everybody the same. You talk to everybody like they matter because we're all the same in here. And I love that. To this day, I love that. I just get so uncomfortable when there's weird questions. Hey, so what's your dog's name, your job, or whatever? It's like, who cares? What if you're broke? What if you're like nothing? What if you got nothing? And I'm like, hey, so how you doing? Hey, how's your job? Well, I don't have a job. Well, I do, so I'm better than you. Like, it's like, that's why it's anonymous. You have to worry about it. Great hair, by the way. Like, you and Louis, that's like, you got to have great hair to have that gig, right? When the Lewis offer, huh? Yeah, you got to, if it's like Lewis offer, it's like the door job, and you've got to have great unusual hair, to put it politely and respectfully. Let's take a break. I'm running out of time, thank God. When I would meet with Warren at the break, at the meetings, he would talk to me about anything and everything except for AA, surprisingly. Now that I'm just preaching about anonymity. He would talk about his wife who had passed away. Her name was, he used to say she looked like Princess Grace. I did not know who that woman was, but I pretended like I did. He talked about going to Europe with her. He talked about being in the war. He talked about friends of his that died in the war. He talked about being a young police officer in the Boston Police Force, and if they knew you were in AA, you would be terminated on the spot. And they did things like, Warren, come here, bud. There you go. There's your whiskey. Drink up. You know, shit like that. Harsh shit. And he had been a pioneer. And he would talk to me about all these things, and he just had this loving look in his eye, you know? And he told me years later, he said, let me tell you something, kid. When you're with people that are in trouble, you just talk to them about random shit so they feel okay. And I said, well, how can you tell? He goes, when you see them, there's a pause. Like, hey, man, how are you? Hey. Like, I remembered a story like 2 years ago. This kid would call me. And he'd be like, hey, dude, blah, 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 blah. And he was in trouble. I could tell he was in trouble. He had a couple of years. He hated his life. His parents were like, you suck. You're sober, but you're lame. And he really was in trouble. And I remember it was just a hunch. One of those days, it's like a Tuesday afternoon. I'm at my house. My phone rings. And he's like, hey, it's Tony. I'm like, what's up, dude? He's like, nothing, man. I said, what are you doing? He's like, I'm just driving around. He's like, what are you? And I said, oh, yeah. And he's all quiet. And I'm like, you should come over. He's like, yeah? He goes, what are you doing? I said, Tony, I'm trying to grill lettuce. He's like, what? I said, I just got home from Texas. My sister and I went to P.F. Chang's, and we had this grilled wedge salad, and it was fucking awesome. Why don't you come over and lend a hand? I need your help on this one. True story. True fucking story. So he comes over, and I'm literally in my kitchen, like spraying, trying to like brown lettuce. And I'm like, I think you need to get the pan really hot. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, how hot? And he's like, well, maybe high. I'm like, good idea, Tony. All right, so we'll put it on high. Doesn't work. It's not grilling. It's a frying pan. You need like a grill, I guess, like the searing marks, the brown. I don't know that. I'm sober like 20 years at the time. I can't see, oh, that's actual grill, not like frying pan grill. I should have known that, Tony. And I'm saying shit like that to him because I know this kid's in trouble. And maybe this kid will feel like, all right, we're equals. I matter, blah, blah, blah. And I said, how's school? He's like, fuck school. I'm like, fuck school. Should I put blue cheese on this? And like, long story short, we start talking. We should do some steps. Yeah, all right, next time we'll do steps. A month later, he calls me and says, I want to thank you for that day with the lettuce. I'm like, oh, yeah, no problem. You helped me out a lot. Didn't work out, but they can't always win. I'm no chef. No chef tell or some dumb comment. Because it's kind of good to call people in AA that say dumb things because then you feel better than them and you feel safe. To say, hey, body's in the trunk. You're like, okay, good. Let's probably need to get it out of the trunk, you know? We should probably just take off the gag. We can't kill him anymore. And, you know, I can't get this goddamn computer on, you know? I got problems too. You've got a body in your trunk. I can't turn on my laptop. We're equals in here. We all matter. And that's a gift. And he said to me, I was going to go, I was done. So I figured you told me that if I was ever going to kill myself, to call you first. From grilling fucking lettuce. The last time I actually stood at this podium, I gave a friend a cake, a girl named Lauren. She had 7 years. I was back there with another friend. She was in from New York. She passed away about a year ago. A year before, I gave her a cake at this podium. She had 7 years. I say that now because I don't want to forget that this whole thing is about fucking love. This whole thing is about you're gonna be okay. This whole thing is about Warren going, how's your senior year, kid? You okay? Yeah. I'm gonna run for president. Kid, you're probably gonna win. How do I do that? You just stand up there and tell them the fucking truth. I'm like, that's the greatest thing you've ever told me since the Lord's Prayer thing. I went to my sponsor with the Lord's Prayer thing, and this is true. And I go, I don't want to, I can't go to meetings until the end. He's like, why? And I'm like, because I have a nerve damage. I can't really write well with my left hand. And I have a shake. So when I hold hands at the end, it's really uncomfortable for me. It's really humiliating. And Warren goes, no problem, kid. I go, why? He goes, do what I do. I go, what's that? He goes, when you start the Lord's Prayer, just focus on wiggling your toes. I was like, all right. So I started doing that, and you all of a sudden, somehow, I don't know what it makes no sense to me, but I still do that to this day. 23 years later, I wiggle my toes, and I'm not worried about my hands shaking anymore. That's awesome advice. You know, I can tell you about social instinct inventory I just did with my new sponsor, but that's a little heady for a night like tonight, I think, is that let's wiggle some fucking toes. And the whole reason I brought this up is this girl was taking a cake. She was in from New York, Lauren. She's like, I want to go to that Rodeo meeting. I want to go to that Rodeo meeting and take a cake. You know, she's 26. She's got 8 years, floats 7 years. And I said, really? You're going all the way over there? She's like, it's important because those little girls need to see that it can happen, and they can have big lives, and they can move to the big city, and they can have everything they want, but it all starts from here. And I swear to God, she said this. She goes, yeah, I just want them to know that they matter. And I remembered that on Memorial Day was the day she died this year when I went there, and I remember just putting flowers on her grave because I wanted her mom to know that she mattered. And I just sat there. Just loving the anonymous beauty of Alcoholics Anonymous. And all the people that have come in this thing, all the Warrens of the world. The guy that told me, the last thing he ever said to me was, I love you, kid. I love you like one of my own. You know? I stood at this podium and gave my dad a cake for 10 years when I had 20. When that dude was done. This thing fucking works, man. You know? And I apologize if I was all over the place tonight. I apologize if it seemed scattered. I'll end with this, another minute, and I'm done. Okay, is it cool? A minute? I was in Vegas about a month ago. The ability in my life to be sarcastic and rude cost me most of my life and all my employment, and I had no education because I was always getting thrown out of class. But eventually I channeled that into a pretty cool job. And I spent a lot of time in Vegas. About 6 months ago, a buddy of mine who also worked in Vegas at a different spot was coming to work at the same hotel. And we used to go to meetings together. We'd hang out. I'd take him to meetings. And long story short, we went to a meeting together. We sat in my car. We went back to the hotel, and he said to me, "I'm in trouble, Paul. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what's wrong, but something's wrong. I need help." And I tried to help him, and I didn't, and he died. He OD'd, and it's sad, and I miss him. But I remember The last time I saw him, I went on this thing where he was doing this show, and I stood on the stage with him, and I was looking out over all these people, and I looked at him, and I pointed to this, like, we're finally here, man. We made it. Like, we're together. This is fucking rad. And he looked at me, and he's like, and then he said, last memory. He looked at me, and he went, which was the way we would say goodbye to each other. And I looked at him, and I went, and I thought of that recently when I was in that same spot. I had that flashback. And it's so sad, but it's so, just the moment that, like, if we have to say goodbye to anyone in here, and we have to do it, what a loving, so, thank you. Good night.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think. Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. If that shows up, the gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right, but I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.